And that's what I like about this human development approach. It is putting people and their aspirations back at the center of development. What are people's aspirations? The basic human rights issues. The right to water, the right to shelter, the right to education, the right to health care. If we say water is, for example, water is life, and then to find in most of our countries we are struggling to even provide a basic thing, not because we don't have resources, but because of priorities. Look at the huge resources that are being generated, the ingenuity, because with this new human development approach, the people are the real wealth of nations, and their ingenuity, their capacity. Can you imagine if the people just around here, if we were to lock out the door here and come up with a development strategy, you'd be amazed what will come out of the collective efforts. The sum is always greater than the individual. But in our development efforts, we are so fragmented. Zimbabwe is competing against South Africa, is competing against this neighbor. There's no more cooperation. The principles get back to foundational values. There are no values that actually of human-centeredness. In Africa, we call it Ubuntu. Where we put people at the center and the aspirations, and we begin to say, what resources do we have? Let's start with those things that really matter. Because at the end of the day, we are spending so much money. For example, look at how much is being poured into football, and yet we have no water. How much individuals, Ronaldos, are getting paid. And that money that is paid to one individual could actually supply a whole country with water and so forth. So it's not about resources. God has gifted us with resources. In particular, Africa, we are so rich. Even if you look at the dynamic right now, the resources that are flowing out of Africa are much more, with over 87 billion, much more than what is coming into the continent. So we're actually net lenders, if you look at it that way. And yet we are struggling with debt issues and so forth. So we need to start with the foundational values and principles. What are the values? If people really matter, let's start with the things that matter. Zimbabwe, right now we heard earlier on that despite all these challenges that we've had, despite the impact of COVID-19, Zimbabwe stood this ground, mainly because of the investments it made in education and training. We remain number 10 in the country. I think the ambassadors rightly pointed out. Number 10, despite of all the challenges, because we invested in education. Education matters. And right across the world, you see the human capital of Zimbabwe, what it is doing because of that investment. Can you imagine if you prioritize what matters? Shelter. We should never have the situation of want. As Rongai has highlighted, in Africa we've got land. Even in terms of industrialization, you start with what you have, the resources. And you simply build capabilities around those resources. So look at our agricultural potential. Look at the fires. You know.
So are you talking here about coherent policies, policies that harness and effectively makes our resources work for the people, works for the country, and also, of course, integration with that?
Absolutely. The policies, the institutions, that's another message in the report. The institutions must be human-centered. The people must be at the center of everything that we do and their aspirations. And another dimension that is very important in the report, apart from well-being, the issue of urgency, ensuring that the people don't feel left out, which is now creating the democracy paradox that was highlighted earlier on, where the people believe in democracy, but in terms of their choices, they may actually end up choosing the populists who are promising them the sky, simply because the systems are not working for the people. And that's what is creating all this
capacity building is critical. There's only one thing I didn't like about you said Ronaldo. I was going to ask you who the top female football player was. No, I told you that. There you go. I like the Brazil. She also gets paid a lot of money. I hope not just Ronaldo. But some interesting comments there. One thing that was interesting was if you look at Africa, when you look at our countries, you wonder sometimes. We are all competing for foreign direct investment. Imagine. So Rwanda comes up with rules, we come up with ours to beat Rwanda, Ghana comes up with theirs to beat Rwanda and Zimbabwe. So we're all looking at the same investors. Okay, but we're cutting out our income, we're cutting down our fiscal flows, all because we're trying to get it from Ghana, from Nigeria, from Kenya, to come to Zimbabwe, to come to Rwanda. It's interesting that again, it's polarizing ourselves through trade. It could be one aspect of it. And another thing which is important is illicit financial flows. I mean, the numbers are just too huge. You said, what, 87 billion a year And I was talking to someone in Dubai, and they said, you know, in Dubai, we go, we make our money, we invest in Dubai. Because in Africa, you make your money, and you come and invest in Dubai. Why not invest in your home country? We're the only continent where we invest our money outside the continent. We'd rather our money is outside of Africa than inside of Africa. And again, we're talking economics because it's important. And Prosper, let me bring you in here. Prosper Chitambara again.